Hi, this is David again, and I wanted to give you my other half of the Handbook of Instructions, first volume. I just got done finishing reading it for the second time, and I've always told you from the very beginning of every video I've ever had, I'm going to be truthful with you through my eyes and my head and my vision. Now, other people, you know darn well, you see two different things, and one person thinks it's good, and one person thinks it's evil, and you have different standards. I still don't have a bad feeling about that handbook of instructions. It seems to be somewhat modern. It seems to be less punitive. It seems to be more mainstream. Now, I have to say that. I'm not here to, besmirch the Mormon Church. I was a member for 50 years, and I came through some very difficult times in my life, believing and knowing it was a cult. And now I'm free. I'm not a member. I resigned from the church. And in the handbook, it does say constantly anyone who's ever been excommunicated or had their names removed. In the church's mind, those are the same two things. They didn't used to be. Years ago, you couldn't resign from the Mormon Church. There was finally, I don't know if it was a Supreme Court decision, but it was a decision high enough for the church to back off. The church would not let anybody resign. When you're captured with baptism, you were a prisoner of war. It went to a court, and several courts, I'm sure, and it finally was determined that a person that doesn't want to be a member of anything can resign. Well, Jesus didn't like that, and neither did the Mormon Church. But anyway, they had to obey that law of the Lamb. They don't obey all the laws, but that one they obeyed. So now they allow a person to resign. Greg Dodge up at the church office building is the person in charge of the thousands and thousands of requests that go in. The handbook says you've got to go tell your bishop. And then he tells the stake president, and then they give you a letter 30 days to decide if you really want your baptism rejected and your priesthood and whatever, try to intimidate you back in, and then it goes off to the church headquarters. Well, that's what the handbook says, but that's not the way most of us who know how to do this do it. We just write to Greg Dodge our name and, tell him we don't want to be a member of the church, remove my name. And then Dodge will send back to the bishop notification that you've notified the church headquarters and the stake president. They both find out. They send you the 30-day intimidation letter, and then you're out. You're out. Now, the church handbook doesn't like people to have free agency. It doesn't like people to be able to tell the church what to do. The church is determined to tell you and the world what to do because Jesus told them. Well, in the church, they can have internal practices that outside the church are illegal. They're a private 501c nonprofit with the IRS. Their records and being a church and having certain confidentialities of church information, they're allowed to do. So let me tell you what they do. They say they take you off the membership of the church. Okay? I don't think that's true. And most of the people I've written with and talked with over the years and years are of the same opinion. The church says it has 14 million members. Well, those are now children of record. And they have tried to pump those numbers up, which is almost impossible anymore. They're going to be invisible people at the next census. But there's about 4 million active Mormons. Well, if you resign from the Mormon Church and they were about to excommunicate you, you can do that. That's totally legal. If they go, hey, you've been running around and having affairs, we're going to excommunicate you. You think, no, you're not. It's kind of like the boss. He comes up to you and he says, I think I'm going to fire you. And you go, no, I quit. So you get there first. Well, you can do that with the Mormon Church, too. If they're going to excommunicate you, just say, hey, you know what? You can't excommunicate me. I'm in charge of my life. Here's 2 sentences. My name, and I don't want to be a member of your church. And the law from that court case says that the moment, the law is funny. The moment you lose control of that letter, if you put it into a mailbox, you're out. You're out. Once that letter you don't have control of anymore, you are now not a member of the church. When the church does it, it's totally irrelevant. Their procedures are totally irrelevant, except to the little old ladies and the little old men who, pity you and pray for you on the prayer roll in the temple. Now, if you're about to be excommunicated, you can say, no, take this job and shove it. I'm not working here no more. Now, you're out. Legally, you're out. And the church can't do a thing about that. That's the law of the land. But inside the church, and in the handbook of the church, the 2010, and I'm trying to think, I usually try to quote you. That dang book is 186 pages. Okay, I don't have that quote on what page it is, but if you got a handbook, just look it up. I do. Me and all the stake presidents and the general authorities. You're going to see my chair on the general conference. I don't need a seatbelt yet. Packer needs a seatbelt because he slides off the chair. I can still sit. I don't know how many more days it'll be. But anyway, the church says they take your name out of the membership of the church. I don't think statistically they touch your name in a million years. They just move it from this file over to this file. And then the little old ladies put a note on it. This guy's an asshole. He was about to be excommunicated, but he beat us to the draw. Well, it makes the Mormons feel that they hung on to some of that power, because if you ever want to come back... Now, I'm going to admit, I don't think I've ever said this. And why does my phone ring on every video? That's probably a bill collector. And you can see how quickly I pay them. And I have no kids to answer the phone. They're all in school. So anyway, you just have to take the disturbance. So there is not an annotation. Now, an annotation is a bishop's sentence or words. This guy is an asshole. Okay, so there's different asshole annotations and name removals that go onto your paperwork. So if you ever want to come back into the Mormon church, and like I said, I'm going to say something I've never admitted before. I don't think on camera. I did resign twice. That's how stupid I am and how embracing the cult was to me. I thought maybe I was making a mistake. So I resigned from the church, and then I gave it some thought and thought, well, I'm lonely. I don't have any friends. I'm a nerd. I have had, whatever it was, 40, 50 years of no social contact except with Mormons. I'm totally naked out here, and I'm becoming an old man. Maybe I've made a bad decision. So I went back, threw myself on the mercy of the court, and said, I want to get rebaptized. Okay. Now, I don't know if they had the asshole. They should have. Every piece of paper that has anything to do with me said, he's an asshole. Well, anyway, they let me back in, and I had to have the missionary lessons. Now, if you don't think that's comical, I had these two 19-year-old guys over. Here I am 50. I know more about the church than they know, ever in their lifetime. But anyway, I was humble. I just kept bowing my head and saying yes. Well, I did get rebaptized again, and I was going to church right in Utah. And the bishop, I went to the bishop and I said, I've been rebaptized. This was a while. I don't know if I've been in 6 months or something again. And I said, I'd like to have my blessings restored. Now, he may have had, he's an asshole this time, because the bishop wasn't that friendly. He the Falkers, that movie, and the father is always going. That's what he did to me. He says, I'm watching you. And I said, well, why are you watching me? What am I doing? I go, hey, I'm going to church, paying my tithing again, and I'm in full activity. I've been rebaptized. What's the deal about getting my blessings restored? And finally, he did that enough times to me. I'm out of here again. I was making the right decision. So out the door I go again, and it was that bishop. I handed him the paper and said, I'm out of the church, and so are my children. I don't want them to have anything to do with this cult or you or any of them. So God, I gave them every chance until they started this. And then I started this because I had been free. And now I wasn't intimidated by these little, tiny bishops with glasses and a little, satchel that they carried with them and acting like they were important. And then they always go, You go, oh, can I see that? No, this is sacred. This is sacred. It's probably one of his kids from 6th grade reading list or something. So anyway, these guys that never had any power, they still don't have any power, but they don't believe that. Now they're called bishop or president or counselor. It took me 8 years above high school to become a counselor. These guys probably didn't even graduate high school. And they have the same title as me. So, hey, that's the Mormon Church. So, anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I get way off the subject. And then I go back and watch my videos and go, what the hell? That's not what you were talking about. And other people do too, I'm sure. But anyway, I was resigned twice. I think I'm one of the few people in the world. You're looking at a very famous ex-Mormon, because I was ex twice. I resigned twice. And neither time was it for disciplinary actions and courts or my feelings hurt. It was just because I kept reading the doctrine and it looked silly. And so I got out. Now, the other thing about name removal, it's interesting because the handbook, again, it keeps giving you a little flavor of the old time school of thought of Mormons. In name removal, it never mentions that somebody could just disagree with the church and leave. That's not possible. The name removal sections of the Church Handbook of Instructions, number 1, clearly indicate that you probably were going to be excommunicated. They just can't believe that gold plates that disappeared, some people are going to go, nah, it's like Smokey the Bear. No, I don't believe it. They can't believe that someone is not going to believe their doctrine. So in their minds, in that side of the head, that emotional side of the head that plays tapes in Mormon heads, correlates, there's a Mormon word for you. You see, I'm the old Mormon. Correlates with if you had your name removed, you were in trouble and you were going to be X'd. So we're going to keep record on your record. I don't know who keeps the record on the record on the record on the record. I don't know. But anyway, we know that you must have been doing something evil. And many people aren't. They just go, I don't believe in Smokey the Bear. You must have been screwing Smokey the Bear. No, I wasn't screwing anybody. So anyway, they keep on your record, you were screwing Smokey the Bear. So if you come back into the church with your head bowed and you realize that you've made a terrible mistake, which you could count on one hand the people that come back into the Mormon church every year who have had their names removed. I was one. So now there's only 4 more that year. Then I left again within 8 or 9 months. So if you come back in, which you won't, but it makes the Mormons feel better when they have this big stack of papers in the church office building and goes, asshole, screwing at the tree, screwing in the car, masturbating. They love that crap up there. So when you come back, they can all sit back and say, well, Brother David, looks like you were kind of masturbating. Do we need to discuss that? No. Well, we do. I can't take this. I just can't take it. But I always feel better after I do my videos. I really, you know, I had a beautiful letter. I get off subjects because I have dementia. I got a beautiful letter today from my daughter, Amy, who is died in the wool, LDS, and married in the temple. I didn't get to go to the temple, and she had a baby that I didn't even know about. Married. Not when she was living with me. And now she's pregnant with another baby. And she wrote me a really pretty letter today. And she said, you know, Dad, I've been thinking, you know, I have other friends that are bipolar, and I'm beginning to understand why you're such an asshole. That's a beautiful letter. Keep them coming. But she's a Mormon, and she's now in real life. She's out there and seeing the real world, and she's away from the cult. She does attend and everything. But anyway, she's starting to say, Dad has some videos, and he enjoys laughing when I laugh, and said she loves me. And so that was very heartwarming and very good. So anyway, if you are resigning or you are about to be exed, they can't take it. And name removal is an excommunication in the minds of the church office officials and the handbook. And so they make these notes on your record so that if you ever come back, which you never will, or when everybody goes to heaven, this is the book of life from the church office building. He was masturbating, Jesus. He was enjoying himself and thinking bad thoughts. And well, anyway. So if you come back in, they're going to get you anyway. You got them first because you quit before they could fire you. But if you come back, now they're in charge. Jeez. Power to the people. You're too young to know all that crap when I was young. So anyway, let me finish this. I just have one more comment here about the, one more comment from David. Okay, this is on page 43 in the office, the Handbook of Instructions. It's section 5.1.2, and it's, I didn't know this, so it's kind of interesting to me, and I didn't know this, but again, you know, this is going to be a two-edged sword. This has to do with welfare assistance, medical welfare assistance. Now, I had a couple of one Mormon comment, oh God, it's been whatever, a month or two ago, and he said, well, you had an autistic son, why did you expect the church to help pay for him? You have to learn independence. Well, okay. Let me read you what the Handbook Instructions of the church says that he didn't have access to. Okay, and I didn't have access to it when I had a autistic boy that needed some medical help and some dietitian help and some help. And we were active Mormons. Okay, medical. Now, I didn't know this because I've never seen it done. The bishop is authorized up to $5,000 for medical expenses. You guys didn't know that. I bet my left ear. None of you knew that. He's authorized. He can write a check up to $5,000 for medical care of somebody in his ward that he thinks needs some help. Well, I think that's generous. It's only written for general authorities, kids, and wives, but I think it's generous. See, it's this selective enforcement. If you're just a down-and-out Mormon, roofing contractor, and, you have a kidney problem, and you go to the church, they're going to say, well, that's personal insurance. Well, the bishop could write you a $5,000 check. He's not going to, but the book says that he can. So they're on record of saying that he can. Now, the state president, he can write you one for $10,000. Like somebody's going to get it. The largest check, and I was a state clerk for a short period of time in a state presidency, but I've never been a ward clerk. But I did see one of the general, not authorities, he was in the state presidency. He ran a gas station in Newberry Park, California, Shell station, and he was having trouble financially, and he went to the church to ask for some assistance. He needed a truck of gas to come in so he could start pumping it and get his family back on their feet and get off of church welfare. Well, anyway, I didn't know how much those trucks were. Of course, this is 20 years ago. So they brought a truck in, and the church wrote a check for $10,000 for that truck to come in and fill his gas station. Now, he was in the stake presidency. I think that money probably does go to hire people and to hire authorities. If you were a roofing contractor and you ran out of gas in your truck, oh, I don't want to be, overbearing on this one, because I have seen now and then, if it's a $25 gas tank for a roofing contractor, I have seen a bishop, some don't, some do, they would buy a tank of gas so he could finish a job and get paid. I mean, these are not just evil people. Please, you've watched enough. I got 310 or whatever videos up there. I'm not trying to bemoan the Mormon Church. I'm just telling you what I've seen and what's happened to me and my family. If you find that interesting, fine. You don't click on it. Don't click on it. Just go somewhere else. This is my therapy. So when I saw that a stake president in 2010 can write a check for $10,000 on medical bills, I'm thinking, hey, it's fairly generous considering what I've seen. But again, the people that get that money are not the common members of the church. Now, that's a big statement for me, okay? I can't say with 100% assurity that there wasn't some little old lady laying in a bed in Ohio somewhere dying and had, needed a kidney dialysis, and it was for $10,000, that the church didn't do that. I can't say that. But see, what I can say is what I have seen. I've seen very prominent people receive large amounts of money. I've never seen ordinary citizens get more than a tank of gas, and maybe in the old days they would make a house payment for you just to keep you in. Nowadays they don't make any house payments, only rent payments, because house payments are something that you're going to get back when you sell the house, and the church, I guess, doesn't want to help you that way. So most church members have apartment buildings because they will pay the rent on your apartment, but not your house payment. So, again, these are IRS things that they've probably figured out. Okay, so the stake president's worth 10 grand. Now, the area president of the 70s, the stake president can go to him and go, hey, the little old lady needs dialysis for, 2 months before she can get on Medicare. He can say, 25,000. It's gone. Just give it to the old lady. Hey, again, I can't bemoan that. It's a multi-billion-dollar corporation, so it's penance to them. But, if they do it, I'd like to see the names of the people that get it. I'd like to see the inactive members. Do they get it, or is it just, my suspicion is that it's an investment. Everything in the Mormon corporation is an investment. So if you give $100,000 or you give $10,000 for gasoline to a stake president counselor, he's going to pay tithing back on that $10,000, and you'll get your money back within 1 or 2 years. That's an investment. The little old lady laying in the bed, that's money down a rat hole. That ain't going to come back to you in tithing in a million years. So that's why I think these people who approve these large amounts go, well, how much are we going to get back? Again, that's just David, because I don't have access to the records, and neither do you. I have access to the church handbook, number one. Do you? No, because non-members can get that crap. If you're in the cult, they don't want you reading it, so you got to listen to an apostate on here to be able to hear this stuff, okay? Now, they can go over 25,000, going up to the presiding bishopric. The numbers disappear there in the handbook, because that's probably never done. But anyway, for medical bills, the Mormon Church can write $5,000, $10,000, or $25,000 checks. So now that you ordinary people who click on me because you're desperate, now go to the bishop when your little autistic kid needs a $1,700 special ed evaluation, and it's medical, and you don't have the $1,700, and they go, no, we just don't do that kind of thing. Say, well, take a look there, Bishop, over in the handbook on page 43. you can write me up to $5,000 on medical, and my little boy needs some medical treatment. Why can't I get that money? If I was in the bishopric, could I get it? If we were descendants of authorities in the church, like your kids get to go to BYU for free, I have to pay tuition for my children. Why aren't you willing to write me a $1,500 check for my sick son? But you can write 5, and with the stake president's approval, 10 to help our family. Is it that we don't pay enough tithing? We don't make that much money, Bishop. We're ordinary citizens. But you're taking in, every unit is taking in from $500,000 to $1 million a week in tithing. And we can't get a $1,500 check, but you're building a $5 billion mall for all the rich Mormons to shop in downtown. Listen to the answer that he gives you. And then please write me. Let me know what he says to you. But if you've got children or a mother or an aged, I have my mother is moving in with us, and she's 85, and she has medical needs, and she's LDS. Now that I know this, I'm going to say to the bishop, hey, you can write up to $5,000 for medical. Isn't she worth that? And the answer is no. I know it. Now you know it. So, anyway, the church handbook, I'm done reading it. It's about as boring as a dictionary. But it's hard on transsexuals. Your priesthood is in your penis. You cut that penis off, you got no priesthood. You're not going to get a temple recommend, and you're not going to be a priesthood holder. And if you have a vagina and you tape on a false penis, they're not going to ordain that and give you the priesthood. So they're really against transsexuals. They've lightened up a little bit on homosexuality, not a lot, but a little. You can see it. I've been in the church so long and been out so long, I can see how they handled Proposition 8 in California and lost millions and millions of dollars of the church members who donated to that, and many of those church members are, upset and resigning and going, what the hell? But if you've had a little bit of homosexual experimentation in your youth, everybody does that, right? I didn't, so I guess I missed a little bit of life. I don't know. But if you've had a lot of homosexual activity, lesbian activity with one partner or several, you're dog shit. You're an evil person, and you need to repent. And see, they're still seeing homosexuality or same-sex attractions as evil. That it's a choice. You weren't born that way. Well, I remember in counseling, I had a boy that was, I don't know, 20, maybe 25. And he said to me in a counseling session once, he says, David, I know I was homosexual when I was 5 years old. And I said, how did you know that? And he said, well, because when men hugged me when I was 5, I would feel sexual excitement. That did a lot for me to start to move from choice to genetics. Now, I think the answer is in the middle. I think that there's some gray area, the bisexuals, and there's a whole thing I'm not going to go into here. But to me, the genetic reason for same-sex attraction makes the most amount of sense. So they're hard in those areas. They're hard on the fat people. I had a comment that came in, and I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle. Like I said, I'm not here to get anyone out of the Mormon Church. I'm just here to get me out of the thinking of the Mormon Church. I had a Mormon write me in, and he said, when I was on my mission, I had a companion that was so fat, he was too fat. Now, I don't know what too fat is, so he went into details. He said, he couldn't get up on or sleep on the top bunk. So, he couldn't sit on a bus seat. And I had to hide the food at night because he'd get up and eat it. He was too fat for a mission, and I'm glad to see the handbook making these fat people repent. He's young, probably 29, 30, 31, and had nothing to do that night but click on one of my videos. So, I can see this argument both ways. I think we need to have handicapped and disabled people receive opportunities to do the same thing that ordinary people do. And being fat, he's going to have harder time walking and tracting, and his bicycle seat will disappear when he gets on it. You may never see that bicycle seat again. But um, I don't think we ever should be mean. I don't think we should ever be mean. And if I was a bishop, yeah, in the next life, the atheist bishop, I would simply say to the young man or young woman, say, the church has some weight issues because of the difficulties of a mission, the physical difficulties. I'm going to recommend that you go because I think spiritually that would be good for you and it'll give you some self-esteem and you may convert some people and that may change their life. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to say to you, you need to try to control your weight as much as you can. And I want you to feel free that if you get out there and people are making fun of you or you get your butt caught in a bicycle seat and you have to go to the hospital to have it removed, that you can come home, and that's no disgrace. You did the best you could under the circumstances. That's how I would do it. The Mormon church, they don't want you to see a fat, ugly girl out there or a fat, ugly guy out there because it's advertising to them. It's solicitation. And most people will give their money to a tall, handsome man or a beautiful, short girl that's beautiful. So I think the intent is mean in the handbook. And I don't like that kind of a treatment of people who, we're not all the same. We're not all the same. And taking society's value system and enforcing it on everybody, I don't think is fair. So I'd let the fat kids go and say, hey, if you can't make it out there, get a hold of your mission president. Tell them to get a hold of me, that I sent you kind of on a probationary mission, and you're welcome to come home, and it's not going to be a disgrace. So anyway, there's the rest of the information that I've seen in the handbook. Now, how they apply it, I've told you over and over again, the Mormon Church has selective enforcement, and it's always the Spirit of the Lord telling them, don't give money to that old lady for kidney dialysis. Give $25,000 to the BYU student that is the stake president's daughter who had a brain injury and she needed a little bit of money. So, on the face, it looks reasonable. And I'm going to say fair. I'm not going to exaggerate. On the face, it looks reasonable and it looks fair. But many times in Mormon writings, that is the way things are done. On their face, who could complain? But let me see the numbers of the people that they help with the $10,000 and $25,000 checks, who they are. Are they ordinary people who are just faithful members of the church that need some help? Or is that money channeled certain directions? I've kind of made my mind up, but I don't have any proof. Maybe you could write to your general authorities or your stake president. I bet they'd tell you, I don't think it's sacred or secret. Ask them how many people they wrote $10,000 and $25,000 checks for last year in your ward. Thanks.